This is the NBA, a league where loyalty can be a myth and security can be an illusion. Nikola Jokic, a three-time MVP, who might honestly deserve even more trophies, the improbable backbone of a Rocky Mountain city, and arguably the greatest offensive talent that we've witnessed in decades, is somebody that most of us wouldn't even think about trading. If I owned the Denver Nuggets, I would never even put the words Nikola Jokic and trade in the same sentence, but maybe that's why I'm not the one signing the checks. Because here, we have the actual owner of the Nuggets casually floating the idea of trading Nikola Jokic totally unprovoked, as if testing how quickly he can send an entire fan base into panic mode.
I think that for us as an organization, going into that second apron is not necessarily something that we're scared of. I think that there are rules around it that we needed to be very careful of with our injury history. The wrong person gets injured and very quickly you're into a scenario where that I never want to have to contemplate, and that's trade number 15. We're very conscious of that pushing forward and providing the resources that we can when the moment arrives. But that second apron, is it a hard cap? I'm not 100% sure, but it's something that teams are obviously very aware of going forward.
Number 15 is Nikola Jokic. And trading Nikola Jokic at this stage of his career when he's not asking out might be even crazier than the Dallas Mavericks trading Luka Doncic, because even though Luka Doncic is much younger than Jokic, we've already seen the backlash that trading a Luka Doncic brings. Nico Harrison might have escaped complete disaster by landing Cooper Flag, but if he had caught a glimpse of the chaos that was waiting for him ahead of time, then you'd hope that he'd reconsider before pulling the trigger. But for the Denver Nuggets, it's crazy what a couple of messy seasons, relatively speaking, can have you saying, even if you have no intention to do so. This leads us to the big question. What exactly have the Nuggets done to keep Nikola Jokic happy and confident in this roster during what has felt like a stagnant period for this franchise? But before we dive deeper into the Nuggets, if you're feeling the video, then go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe, and tap that bell to stay locked in. It all might just feel like another click, but each one genuinely powers this channel and helps to keep the content rolling. If you're the type who likes to add a little spice to game night, then check out Better Picks. It's a daily fantasy sports app that can turn your takes into real money. You just have to be right. It's super simple. Download the Better app, pick more or less on your favorite players' stats, watch the games, track your picks, and maybe even cash in. They've got everything: NBA, WNBA, soccer, UFC, plus free picks, discounts, and a feature called Dynamic Play, which keeps you in the game even if you miss a few picks. And get this, someone flipped $100 into $200K on 5 MLB picks. That's wild. Over 3 million people are already on it. And honestly, if you're one of those folks always calling out bad takes online, now's your moment to prove that you've got the juice. Use my link in the description or scan the QR code on the screen and get a free $10 when you sign up. No deposit necessary. Plus a 100% deposit match up to $200. Thank you, Better, for coming through and sponsoring today's content. This team's biggest splash in the 2024 offseason was landing Russell Westbrook. And look, I'm not taking anything away from Russ. He genuinely stepped up, put the team on his back at times, and showed flashes of vintage Russ, as I've said before. It's just that when your marquee summer move is signing a 35-plus-year-old Russell Westbrook, and that only happened because Jokic practically begged the front office and personally recruited him, you've officially lost the offseason. Sacramento, I did not mean that as a stray, but we are definitely going to have to talk about what you guys are doing over there very soon. But Jokic is so good, and the roster was just solid enough that he was able to make last postseason interesting, with the Nuggets giving the Thunder one of their biggest scares of the postseason. The Nuggets would have to handle this offseason without former GM Calvin Booth, because they fired him. With his back against the wall, Booth made some strong moves, signing Bruce Brown, trading for KCP, and drafting guys like Christian Brown, Peyton Watson, and even Deron Holmes II, who, despite his injuries, I genuinely believe in. But behind the scenes, the Nuggets had a mess of a year. Booth had been pushing for a youth movement around Jokic to extend Denver's championship window, while Michael Malone all along favored seasoned veterans like KCP, Bruce Brown, and Jeff Green, players who ultimately played pivotal roles in capturing the franchise's first championship. Last season, Malone even went as far as advocating for a Russell Westbrook, clearly willing to stand by his preference for veteran leadership. Yet, in a rare move, Denver risked everything and parted ways with both Booth and Malone just days before the regular season wrapped up. As in the words of Tim McMahon, the war between these two men had infected the entire organization. Part of the reason that Booth's back did end up against the wall was because the Nuggets were paying Michael Porter Jr. and Jamal Murray the max. Booth actually had the foresight and explored trading either MPJ or Murray because he felt that a trade for one of them could be necessary for another championship. But this is something that ownership wasn't too happy about. It's very hard to build a championship roster when you're paying 3 players maximum level money and only 2 out of the 3 of them usually play at an all-star level when they're on the floor together. Don't forget that Murray and Michael Porter Jr. have never made an all-star game. The wild thing is that this could really be the season that both of these guys make that leap. Jamal Murray has looked incredible early on. He's arguably in the best shape of his career. Stay tuned because we've got a full breakdown dropping on him really soon. And Michael Porter Jr., we all know that he's about to go off in Brooklyn, finally getting the freedom to remind the league exactly why scouts once viewed him as one of the premier talents of that loaded 2018 NBA draft. And also, why he had early comparisons to Kevin Durant and Joe Johnson, which might seem wild now, but once upon a time did make some sense. So as we know, one of Denver's first big offseason decisions was moving Michael Porter Jr., effectively cutting ties with a player whose max contract had become increasingly tough to justify for them. Michael Porter Jr. is a sniper in a 6'10 frame, a perfect player for the modern NBA, especially around a hub like Jokic. But at the same time, he's a player who has the tendency to drop the ball in the playoffs. Just months ago, the man averaged 9 points on 39, 34, and 71 splits during the postseason. If he clocked in some good shifts against the OKC Thunder, then perhaps the Nuggets could have rallied around Jokic to deliver one of the most entertaining playoff upsets in recent memory, en route to helping Jokic get that second ring. And if Jokic would have gotten that second ring and upset the Thunder, it would be a whole lot harder to keep him out of talks for being the greatest big ever. It might sound crazy, but that's really the territory that I feel like Jokic is entering. I don't know if he's there yet, but with everything that he's done, the conversations are coming. When the Nuggets flipped MPJ and a 2032 first rounder for Cam Johnson, it immediately felt like one of those trades where everything clicked into place. A rare deal where both teams walk away feeling like they nailed it. The Nets got the much better talent who had a higher ceiling and a first round pick from the Nuggets, which is great for any team, especially a rebuilding one like the Nets, who have already basically admitted that they're going for AJ DeBansta. As the Nuggets got great cap relief, swapping Porter's hefty $38.3 million salary, ballooning to $40.8 million next season, for Cam Johnson's much lighter $21 million paycheck this year and $23 million the next. For the Nuggets, Cam Johnson offered the ability to do a lot of the same things and play the same role that Michael Porter Jr. had been playing for them, but at a significantly reduced cost. After their newfound flexibility, they'd bring back Bruce Brown, who was collecting checks on my Pelicans, but had fit really well with the Nuggets for their championship run. They'd sign Tim Hardaway Jr. and also make a move for one of my favorites in Jonas Valanciunas. As a Pelicans fan, I followed him to the scary depths of Sacramento, so you better believe that I had to follow him to the Nuggets, and we're giving him his own video soon because the guy's just awesome. How could you hate on Jonas? I still think that he could start on some of these teams in the NBA. Denver's backup big situation has felt shaky ever since Boogie exited the scene. So landing Jonas Valanciunas, along with getting Deron Holmes II back, a versatile first-round talent eager to prove himself after that tough Achilles injury in the 2024 Summer League, has to feel really good for Nuggets fans. If you've been following the channel, then you'd know that I wasn't a huge fan of the idea of moving MPJ for Zach LaVine at last season's trade deadline, and that's because MPJ did bring a lot of value to the table for the Nuggets, but swapping him out for Cam Johnson feels like a significantly smarter move. Cam Johnson also strikes me as someone who is going to be a much better team player than MPJ for the Nuggets.
Cam stepping into Mike's role, experienced guy, sharpshooter, brings a lot of pedigree to the table. What would you say are some of the best things that he brings to your guys' group?
I mean, I'm not going to say that maybe the role as a position, but I think that they're not similar players. You know, I think both are so unique, and both maybe Cam is a little bit more underrated and more under the radar. But since I think Phoenix, when is the first time I play against him? I really like him. He was. I was really surprised how his release is really nice, like really pretty. Like I want to shoot like that. But I think he can help us with so much. Like his passing is underrated, his cutting is underrated. You know. So, and just to get him in in the system, I think he's gonna get even better.
Cam is a cerebral player who constantly understands how to carve out space for himself and his teammates. And as Jokic pointed out, he's quietly become a very underrated passer. He averaged 3.4 assists last season, and just look at this recent dime that he threw to a wide open Julian Strawther. This pass was ridiculous, reminiscent of vintage Derrick Rose, floating midair just long enough before firing an absolute laser off of a dribble drive, no less. Michael Porter Jr. does some things really well, but I'm not sure that he's pulling off this pass. And I do feel like Michael Porter Jr.'s passing has been just a little overhated. Like giving the guy the nickname "the possession ends here," that did seem a little out of pocket. Michael Porter Jr., I got your back. So we're going to be seeing plenty of these Jokic screens for Cam Johnson throughout this season. Watch how smoothly Cam turns the corner, attacks downhill, and collapses the defense. This straightforward action pulls nearly every defender into the paint, freeing up Peyton Watson, who knocked down 35.3% from 3 on 2 attempts per game last season. But instead of settling for what would have been a slightly contested triple, Watson keeps the defense off balance by attacking and then quickly swinging the ball. On the weak side, 3 defenders get caught guarding 2 players. That leaves Cam Johnson wide open on the relocation, and that's way too easy of a shot for Cam Johnson. That's textbook team basketball. Exactly the kind of poetry in motion that you expect from any Nikola Jokic-led squad. Cam Johnson, much like MPJ, is among the league's elite catch-and-shoot threats. But what sets Cam apart is his remarkable consistency. According to Underdog NBA, when it comes to catch-and-shoot threes, he's in a league of his own, hitting 2.3 threes per game at 43% in 2022, 2.2 at 41.5% in 2023, 2 at 42.1% in 2024, and 2.1 at 40.3% last season. Cam's steadiness in this regard makes him the only NBA player to shoot over 40% on 2+ catch-and-shoot threes per game in each of the past 4 seasons. Look, shooting slumps happen to the best of them, but I'm fully expecting Cam Johnson to have a huge year, if nothing else as a winner, especially now that he gets to play with one of the game's elite distributors again. And if you ask me, the undisputed best passer on the planet right now. If Jokic is not the best passer in the world to you right now, then let me know who is down in the comments below. Let's see what David Adelman can do with a full training camp as the Nuggets head coach. And let's see whether their new executive vice presidents, Ben Tenzer and John Wallace, who led the front office that moved MPJ and a 2032 first for Cam Johnson, can cook, or will end up as polarizing as former VP Calvin Booth, who, to be fair, did help to build a championship squad. In the comments below, drop your thoughts on Cam Johnson's arrival in Denver and the decision to move MPJ. How are you feeling about this new look Nuggets squad alongside Nikola Jokic? Personally, I've got them penciled in as one of the top teams out west yet again. And while you guys know that I'm high on teams like Houston and OKC isn't aging fast enough, would anyone really be shocked if Jokic and company secured one of those top Western Conference seeds again? Aaron Gordon or Christian Brown video, anyone? Christian Brown did just get the bag, and again, you're able to do more things like that when you have cap flexibility. That Cam Johnson trade is really going to shape the future of the Denver Nuggets in more ways than we know. Anyways, there's some more going on in the basketball universe that we have to be covering. So clicking one of the videos that's on the screen right now is a great way to support this channel. I'm GetLikeCoop, bringing you guys the scoop until our next upload.